a great leader in ACN. Somebody who this room is a product of his vision and his commitment. This is somebody, ladies and gentlemen, that I watched become a top producer in RVP, a Circle of Champions member, and what I respected most about him, he oozed integrity. He was the type of individual we all desire to be like. He is someone that he introduced a gentleman to the business. You want to talk about an effective launch? He introduced Mr. Jeff Weber to the business, who introduced Mr. Efren Tejada to the business, who finally introduced developed Mr. Mike Basutti in the business. He's someone that I consider to be a model of success in our business. He's a pillar for our company, and if it wasn't for him, none of us would be here today. Please help me bring to the stage top producing, top money earning Regional Vice President, Mr. Al Saggese.
I'm going to tell you, I learned ACN through part of Corey Anderson's trainings when I was coming up the ranks. Corey Anderson was a regional vice president when I first was getting involved in ACN. I used to go to training events. He was one of the top producers of the company. He's one of the reasons why this company is where it is today. He was one of the people that laid the foundation of ACN. So once again, please give him a hand for doing the last part. Okay, my job is to go over a subject called long-term thinking, and I think this is one of the very important things that new people have to learn or have to have is long-term thinking. And the reason why is because, you know, aren't these events great? Okay, don't you learn a lot from training events like this? Okay, aren't these events inspirational? And you learn a tremendous amount. Now, here's the problem. We all love these events, and I mean, Mr. Byron Nelson talked about being committed. I mean, everyone was standing saying how committed they are. Isn't that right? But here's the problem. The problem is, in a few hours, we all have to go home, okay? And we all have to have like a reality check. And by tomorrow morning when everyone's at work, this is all going to seem like a dream. Isn't that right? And what I want to talk to you about is why you should have long-term thinking, why that's important, because, you know, I'm going to tell you something through my experience in the company. I've been with ACN for 15 years. And it took me 3.5 years to become a regional vice president. And when I went to events, and when you come to events like this, you see people talking about all this production that they're having, all the success that they're having, how people are doing all these meetings. They're signing up 30, 40, 50, maybe even up to 100 reps a month in their organization. And you might be sitting there thinking, how is that possible? You know, why isn't that happening in my personal organization? And I'm going to tell you, inspiration is great, but sometimes when you hear the stories, for some people it inspires them, it motivates them, but some people feel a lot of the time that when they're having struggles, that it's only happening to them. Isn't that true? And you feel like, man, maybe this is not for me. For some reason, I can't make this work. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not someone who ran through the ranks of ACN and was a huge success story from the very beginning. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. When you see people in front of this room and you hear the success stories, you don't see what they went through to get to the position. You just see the result. Isn't that right? Okay? You see, when we're in front of this room, when you go to events, all you see is the result. You don't see the hard work. And sometimes people feel like, you know what, it was easy for that person. You know, that person is not experiencing what I'm going through. And sometimes it knocks people, good people, quality people, potential regional and senior vice presidents, right out of the business. Isn't that true? So I want to tell you first off, if you're committed, when you go out and you go home and you go into your local market and you start working ACN, you know, when you go through some rejection, isn't that painful? Rejection is not fun. I don't care who you are. I don't care what type of skin you have, how thick your skin is. Rejection is just not fun. And you have to understand, every single person that stands in front of this room I can guarantee you, went through the exact same things that you're experiencing. It's just how you deal with it that makes the difference. How you deal with adversity that creates the leader. And you have to understand, there's nothing that you're going through that we have not all gone through 1,000 times. I'll tell you a story real quick. When I remember when Mike Bisutti hit team coordinator. Mike Bisutti hit team coordinator, I think in September. Somewhere in September of a few years, obviously a few years ago. And in October of that year, okay, all of his reps quit. His entire team quit. And I remember being on a phone call, a three-way phone call, myself, Mike, one of the other leaders at the time, and Mike said, you know, it's amazing. I just hit team coordinator, and I have no active reps in my group. And this is what he said on the call. He goes, oh, well, I guess I got to go back to work. Okay, and I remember that call vividly because I remember hanging up that call and thinking to myself, I don't know if I would have the same attitude, you know, if every rep in my team quit. Hey, to just say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to go back to work. And look at him. Now he's one of the, you know, top producing, top money earning senior vice presidents in ACN. Isn't that true? So understand, it's how you deal with things. It's how you deal with it that creates the leader. You know, understand, if it was easy to be rich, everyone would be rich. You know, if it was easy to be a regional or senior vice president, you know, that's part of what's great to do it. That's why it's great to achieve it. It's an achievement. Wouldn't you agree? And I'll tell you real quick, I'm going to tell you a couple of things, but before I go through the stories I want to tell you, I want everyone to open. There's a section, my section. I want all of you guys, everyone's committed in this room. I want you guys to write down a few things. Because everyone's committed in the room. And everyone, if I said on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to ACN? Right now, in this event, I'm sure everyone's going to write down the number 10 on the top of that page. Isn't that right? So everyone, if you're on a scale of 1 to 10, based on how committed you are, write down a number on the top of that page. Now, this is for you to look at when we go home. And what I want you to write underneath that, I want you to write down 4 goals that you want to achieve. Now, before you write that down, I want them to be obtainable goals that you're going to achieve in the next 2 to 3 months. Whether it's an amount of money, or changing your PIN, or a team cab, or getting your customers done, getting your 50 customers out of the way. But make it achievable, something you can reach. Don't exaggerate, okay? Because I want you to meet the goals that you set. So write down 4 things that you want to achieve, just so you can look at that every day. And when you look at that, I want you to look at the number you put of how committed you are. Because if you're really a 10 on 1 through 10, as far as level of commitment, I'm sure every person that says they're a number 10 has already registered for the national training. Right? If you wrote 10 on the form, if you're 10 as far as committed to the business, there's no way you're not registered for the national event. We got 30 days till the national. There's no way that you don't have something to do this week to advance your business. Whether it's a PBR, you should have multiple PBRs scheduled from this event. Okay, so the next thing, right underneath that, after you write down the 4 things that you're going to achieve, how many PBRs you're going to do would be great this week, how many presentations. Write down 4 things that you're going to work on to become better at. Okay, you're going to work on things that you need to do to become better at ACN. Whether it's presenting the business better. Understand, when you are presenting the business, you are a messenger. You have to just decide. You should also judge yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Are you giving a strong message or a weak message when you're talking about ACN? Because people are evaluating ACN based on how you show up. You understand? People don't judge the business based on what you say. It's how you show up. You are a representation of the company. So understand, you need to have a strong presentation when you show up to talk about ACN. Okay, ask yourself, are you giving a strong presentation or weak? Could you get better at presenting? Could you get better? I mean, Jordan Schreiber did a great training this morning about the 3-phase close. You need to become an expert at doing that. Wouldn't you agree? That right there, the 3-phase close, would change things in your business. Wouldn't you agree? Now, you need to master those things. You need to become an expert at these things. Because if you become an expert, if you take the time to learn, okay, think about how this would impact your life. Think about how becoming a regional vice president, senior vice president would impact your life. It would change the entire direction of your life. I'm going to tell you something real quick. When we were coming up the ranks, the scariest thing, the thing I hated to do the most was to talk in front of people. And I really got involved thinking that I was never going to have to do that. Okay? And I said, you know what, I'll do this, but I'm never going to be in front of that room. And I'm going to tell you something. We used to practice. We used to take time, myself, Jeff Weber, okay, the leaders, when we were just beginning, we would take time, we would go into a living room, and we would present ACN to each other. And we would critique each other, what we would do well, what we weren't doing well. And I remember something, Jeff Weber, when he used to present, okay, he used to stand very stiff. And he wouldn't move around. He would stand very stiff, and we used to always tell him, look, move around. You know, go from side to side. And what happened was it was awkward for him to do that. And we went to the effort, when we were practicing with each other, we put tape on the floor. We put 2 X's on the floor. And we said, Jeff, walk from one piece of tape to the other. Okay? And when he would train, he would walk from one piece of tape, and as he was talking, he would walk to the other piece of tape. Okay? And if you notice, doesn't he still do that today? Okay? But here's the point. Okay? Here's the point. We took the time to practice. Okay? We took the time to practice because this was important to us. So I'm going to ask you, how important is this to you to make this work? How much are you practicing every single week? I'm going to tell you the adversity we went through, because the company was way different in the beginning. I mean, we were working with much less. You don't even realize how much you have and what the company's offering. I mean, we really, really went through the growing pains of the business. When I got an ACN, you needed 5 frontline reps to become an ETT. 5. You needed 25 services, 25 accounts, not points, accounts. We were only selling long-distance telephone service. That was 25 individual phone lines to hit ETT. When we did leadership events, when there was leadership events being held, they did not want you in the leadership unless you had 50 customers. 50. If you had 49, we don't want you to be there. A leadership event. I remember Efren Tejada, okay, had something like 41 customers. And he was at my house. We were doing some type of training, and I was on the phone with the person that was hosting the leadership event we were having in Los Angeles. And he said, hey, ask him if I can come to the leadership. I have 41 customers. And I said, hey, can Efren come to the leadership? He has 41 customers. And the person said, no, he can't come. And you know, sometimes when the phone is loud, when the other person can hear, okay, he got so mad that he heard that. He went out and got 9 accounts, came to the leadership, and handed them in at the door to go to the leadership event. You know, and I'm going to tell you, I mean, really, the company has really grown. I mean, the changes that happen every year, we don't think that things could get better. Things just become better and better as we get into more services. The company becomes more profitable, and the owners, you know, they keep putting more money in the compensation plan for all of us. You know, we are all the leadership. We're products of the ACN system. But I'm going to tell you, like I mentioned, it was not easy for us. Now, I'm going to tell you, this was my first 30 days in ACN. I want to compare it. Think about your first 30 days in ACN. I want to see if anyone had a worse 30 days, first 30 days. I got an ACN. I was doing construction work. Okay? I was running a large business, did commercial work, and I got an ACN, and I didn't know anybody in California. I'm from New York originally. So what I did was they told me to go talk to everyone that I knew. So what I did was I signed up, and I flew back to New York to go talk to my friends, my family first. And I spent 3 weeks in New York promoting for my PBR. And what I did was, I was making a lot of money in construction at the time, so I wanted to do this big. I didn't want to do it. I didn't really have like the right living room to do it in, so I rented a hotel to do my PBR. And I talked to everyone I knew. And I talked to my family members, I talked to my friends. I even made invitations up on business cards with the address on one side and address and directions on one side and, kind of like a peak on the other side. And I was handing them out to people. I ran an ad in the newspaper for 3 weeks. Company expanding residual income. The night of the meeting, okay, in Long Island, I had a team coordinator come from Manhattan to Long Island to present the opportunity. Okay? The night of the meeting, 9 people showed up. Okay? All family members. None of my friends came. My best friends did not come. My father, okay, came in halfway through the meeting. And my father, was a huge, intimidating guy. He's 6'4", 400 pounds, okay? Sat in the back of the room. While the gentleman was presenting the business, my father started screaming at the presenter, okay? So bad that I had to stop the entire event, okay? I said, everyone calm down. Okay? Everyone sit down, okay? And I'm going to tell you something. No one signed up as a rep. My mother signed up as a customer. And the next day, I was on the plane back to Los Angeles. Okay, that's my first month. And here's what happened, the God's honest truth. Out loud on the plane, by myself, I said, now I'm definitely doing this. Sometimes that's motivation. Wouldn't you agree? You got to channel that frustration into motivation. And I'm going to tell you. I'm sure that if it's not easy for you, don't worry. I mean, the idea is you earn as you learn. I'm going to tell you. I understand. You have to be persistent. You have to make it yours. You have to have a burning desire to succeed. You need that fire in your belly to reach the top positions of the company. If you want to make a gigantic income, it really depends on, what your level of success is. I'll give you an example of persistence. I'll tell you how Jeff Weber and I met. I hired Jeff. Jeff is my first rep in ACN. And I hired Jeff in a previous business. I managed a nightclub when I first moved to California. And Jeff worked at the Hard Rock Cafe. He was the busboy at the Hard Rock Cafe, okay? And here's what happened. I was managing the bar. In the daytime, nobody was there. It was empty. We only had nighttime business. So I would be in the bar, and he came in one day to apply for a job, bartending. He said, or bar backing. And he said, excuse me, sir, I just wanted to know if there was any openings. I'm looking for a job. I work over at the Hard Rock Cafe. And I said, well, you know what? You could fill out an application, and we're fully staffed right now. But, I'll keep your application. If we have any openings, I will call you. So he filled out an application, and when he handed it to me, he said, look, he's like, I'm really motivated. I'm a hard worker. I'll do anything. I want to work here. I need a job. I said, don't worry. I have your application, and I will call you if we do have an opening. He left. A few days later, he came back into the bar. And he said, hey, I just wanted to check in with you, see if there was any openings. And I said, no, like I said a few days ago, we're fully staffed. And if there is any openings, I will call you. Okay? A few days went by, week maybe, and he came back into the bar again. And I walked out and I said, can I help you? And he says, yeah, I just wanted to check in, see if anything was new. And I said, no, listen, man, I promise you, I will call you. I will call you if we have an opening, okay? A week went by, maybe even less than a week, comes back into the bar, okay? He walks in, and actually, he walked in, and I was like, I kind of was puzzled. And he said, I just wanted to check in and see if there was any openings. And I said, look, you don't have to come in here every week. I say, I promise you, your application is right on the top of the pile, okay? And if we fire anyone, or if we need anyone, you will be the first person I call. Okay, sorry to bother you, see you later. Leaves, okay? A few days go by. He comes back in. And he walks in, and I was like, in fact, they called me from the back. I was in the back of the place, and they said, now there's somebody here to see you. And in my back of my head, and I said it couldn't, in my back of my head, I said, it can't be that guy, okay? And I walked to the front, and I'm like this. What's up? He goes, hey, I just wanted to check and see if there was any openings. I said, look, you don't have to come here every week, okay? I promise you, I'm going to call you if we have an opening. So now he leaves, right? And I'm in the bar one day, okay? It's just a week later, maybe 9 days, okay? And I'm in the bar, and I'm behind the bar, and I'm doing something, and I hear the door open. There's like a foyer, okay? So there's like double doors. And I hear the door open, and I'm by myself in the place, and I stand up, and it's a long corridor, like all the way to like maybe that speaker, right? He comes in, and I see him. He walks through the doors, and I go like this. What, are you kidding me? And he turns around and leaves. A week later, he comes back in. He walks in, and the two of us are staring at each other like this. We're staring at each other, okay, and we're laughing. And I said, you know what, man? I'm going to fire someone tonight just to hire you. Now, that's a true story, okay? That's a true story. And I'm going to tell you something. He was the hardest working guy in the entire place. He outworked everybody. That's the truth, okay? And when I got an ACN, I said, he was always the hardest working guy. And he was always interested in what I was doing, always wanted to know what I was doing to make money. I remember, like, I didn't talk to him for about 2 years after the bar closed, and I was doing construction. And he had come over my house, and I didn't know he was coming. We hadn't talked in a long time. And I wasn't home. I wasn't home, okay? And I had somebody working at my place, and a girl that was working in my construction company, and they said, this guy Jeff came. She said, I don't remember what his name was, but some guy came here, and he went through your whole desk. I go, you're kidding me. Who was it? I don't know, some tall guy. He came in here, said he was a friend of yours, sat down behind your desk, went through all the drawers, went through everything. Okay, so I'm like, he was always interested in what I was doing to make money. So that's why when I first got an ACNY, he's my first rep in the company. So understand, have some persistence. It's important. And I'll also tell you this. You know, when I got an ACN, I was trying to get customers. How many people have tried to get relatives on the service, and it didn't go so well? Okay? And you're almost like, you feel like saying, you know, you're my relative, you're my blood. Why wouldn't you try a service? I'm not asking you for your firstborn. I'm asking you for your phone, right? And I'm going to tell you something. My aunt would not try the service for me. She would not try the service. I tried more than a few times, to get her on the service, and they just refused to be my customer, okay? And I'll never forget, I have a boat, I live part of the time in New York, and I'll never forget this because for years I've been trying to get them on the service, my uncle and my aunt, and they just won't try the service. Christmas time, I would always talk to them about it. It's a dead subject. And sometimes don't you take that stuff personally? It's like you don't understand where they're coming from, okay? And I'm going to tell you what happened. I have a boat. The summertime, I go home to New York. I take my boat out, and we have a dock in the back of the house. And my uncle came over, okay, in the summertime for a weekend, barbecue, whatever. And he's on the dock, and I was going back and forth with my boat, back and forth, right? And he's waving me in, pick me up, okay, standing at the edge of the dock like this. So I pull up, and I was about maybe 15 feet away. I shut the engine off, and I said, "What's up?" He said, "Pick me up. I'll go for a ride." I said, "Why don't you call AT&T?" Maybe they can give you a ride. Okay? The point is this. The point is, okay, don't take that personally. Okay? Don't take it personally, because there'll come a time when you can get some revenge. Okay? Okay, you got to stay the course. Okay? You got to stay the course. It really depends on your goals. It really depends on what you're going to do tomorrow morning. You know, take some action. It's great to be in this room and hear from the leaders, but you got to take action. Okay, you got to take action. What are you going to do this week? I mean, look, you come to these events, you get inspired. You hear success stories. You hear about incomes. But it means nothing unless you get your piece of the pie. Wouldn't you agree? So the point is, look, you're going to hit some walls. You're going to go through some adversity. That's what makes the achievement great. You got to make a decision what you want. You got to have a vision for yourself. What's your vision? You know, look, we're in the beginning of a year, 2012. This was the future when I was a kid. We're in the future. Yeah, the year 2000 was the future, right? Right? Understand in the beginning of the year, don't you feel like the reason why people have New Year's resolutions is because you feel like the New Year's a clean slate. You can do anything in the new year. People are open in the new year. And I can't think of a better thing to impact your life, to be part of our company in 2012 with all that ACN is doing. Look, the deregulation of public utilities is the largest deregulation in history. Okay, it's the largest breakup of the monopolies, of these monopolies. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You have to decide what you want. You have to be willing to fight for it. You know, we've all paid a price to be in front of the room. It was not easy for us. Not in the least. Every single person that stands in front of this room has paid a price. They've taken some time from their personal life. They've sacrificed some things. And I'm going to tell you, they've overcome obstacles. And you need a bigger vision. You need a bigger vision for where your life can be a year from now. If you're serious about this, if you're truly committed. You know, if you stood up when Mr. Byron Nelson went through that and you said you were committed, you know, think to yourself, how committed are you really tomorrow morning? You know, we have 30 days until the national. 30 days till we're at the national event. What are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do? And I'm going to tell you something, you know, this is an opportunity that comes around not once in a lifetime, once. Because this deregulation is happening in front of us. This breakup of the monopolies is happening in front of us. This is an opportunity. It's your chance. You know, there's one person in every family that changes the family tree. That could be you. That could be you that makes a stand, steps out of the crowd, and makes that difference in your family. If you become serious when you leave here today. It really depends on the person that looks you back in the mirror. And I'm going to tell you something, you know, I came to a realization when I was first coming up the ranks, and I'd be honest with you, I was going to quit. I was going to quit the business early before, obviously, my first 2 years in the company. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make this thing work. And I'm going to tell you something. I thought to myself, you know, what if I quit? What would my life look like? And I thought, you know what? I make great money in construction. I know construction. There's no personal growth. It's like something I'm comfortable. People run to comfortability. Don't you agree? That's where we lose people. It's easy not to change. It's easier to stay, you know, in what you're familiar with. You understand that? And I'm going to tell you something I thought, you know what? If I do construction, I got to get up every day, 7 o'clock. I got to work till late at night, overhead, employees, payroll, taxes, insurance, workman's compensation, headaches, problems. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'd make great money, but that would be my life. Or I can just maybe go through some personal growth, become the person that I need to be. And what would my life look like? Imagine if I had to just get up in front of a room, in front of a group of people that want to better their lives, and just speak and tell people how to better their lives and make a gigantic income. And there was too much at stake for me not to do this. It was too much on the table. So think about this. As you're driving to work tomorrow, or whatever your daily, whatever you do every day, whether you're working or not, whatever your situation is, you have to think about how important the business is to you. You got to think about, how you want this to impact your life, and you got to take it seriously. Okay? Have a bigger vision for 2012. We're in the second week of January. Okay? Think about what this year could be for you. For me, it's senior vice president. So that's my time up here. I hope you guys, to see all of you guys, everyone, and understand if we have just one more person each, we can double the size of this leadership, and we have the next leadership in August. Isn't that right? So have a plan over the next 30 days. Hit that national running. Okay, we're going to break some records in 2012. So the next person that's going to be training today is one of our top producers. You heard from him earlier today. He's actually someone who's built a tremendous organization.